Hi folks, welcome back to another Monday Night live stream. And as you can see from the screen, we have a very special guest with us today. So Mr. Alessio Cavatore from Riverhorse, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I appreciate we stream a little bit later than some channels, so it's a bit late for you, so I really do appreciate your time.
I'm a little nap.
We'll try and keep you awake, I promise. And we've also got Chris Cæar as well in the background as well. You may be able to hear him if you want to say hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
I don't know if you guys all heard that, but yeah, so Chris is going to be doing a little bit of digital artwork for us this evening, and we'll come on to what that's about in a second. So very briefly, I'll just say hello to a few people in the chat. So we've got Christian, who is in nice and early. Good evening, Christian. We've got Robert Marshall in. Good evening, Robert. Hope you're well. Do you have a good weekend? We've also got Hendrik has come in as well. Says, hey ho, let's go. And we've got Steve Evans in. Hello, Steve. We've got Chris in from Carson's Bazaar. He said, evening all. We've got Phil Wilkinson in. We've got Reluctant Artie in as well. Good evening, buddy. He said he's out. He's in and out. He's making fancy curry tonight, so he's got to run. And he's also got, we've got Marco, is it Marco Lai or Lai? He says, hi there from the UK and ciao to your guest speaker. So ciao there, Alessio.
Ciao.
We've got Matt Mountains just coming in as well. Says he's lurking as well because he's got a bit of painting to do. And we've also got Flying Mammal and Skullmunch just snuck in there as well. So good evening to you two. So, Alessio, how are you?
All right, thank you for having me again.
No,
Here again.
No, much appreciated. I appreciate you giving the time up. So for everyone that's in the chat now or who doesn't know, we tonight are going to be talking about an upcoming game from Riverhorse, designed by Alessio. That's right, Alessio, yeah?
Yeah. The starting was me, and then Jack Cæar did some development on it. But yeah, originally it's my design, yeah.
Yes, and that game is Krowdfunder, so you may have already seen it on my channel. I went down to the Riverhorse Studios in Nottingham and we played a game. We actually played a couple of games, but we played one of them on stream so that you can kind of see what the game's going to be about. That was a little while ago now, so the game may have changed a little bit since then. And no doubt we'll get onto that now and later on as well. But what I'll do is I'll flip across, as you can see there. Chris is also sort of doodling away in the background there. drawing some... I'm trying to decide if that's me or Alessio there. He's got no glasses on yet. So I think we've got a similar look there with the beard and the shaved hair, Alessio. So and I don't think we're too far apart in age either.
It's the hair. It's the hair.
That's what it is. All geniuses have the same haircut. That's what it is. So we'll get straight on with the chat with you, Alessio. So I guess let's start talking about Krowdfunder. And we'll talk about that, and then we'll maybe get back and have a little chat about your background in gaming as well, because I'm sure many people know it's a very well kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You've had a very good history in gaming. Let's put it that way. You've worked on many different games. So so Krowdfunder. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, Alessio?
Yeah, Krowdfunder, for people that have not heard this before, I apologize to people that have already heard this before, but it's an idea we had quite a long time ago, which was when we started to do crowdfunding and we started to learn, this old strange arcane thing that is crowdfunding. Being a game designer, you think, oh, well, this thing is, there's strategies, there's tactics, there's rules, there's regulations, there's a timing. So it did feel like a gigantic game.
Yeah.
You can look at many things like like a game, like life in general. But I thought crowdfunding was particularly suitable for a giant game experience. So I thought, oh, well, how about we go very meta and we do a crowdfunded game about crowdfunding, which is all about, for example, running campaigns, and obviously we try to make it tongue-in-cheek. So we could have a laugh about the huge stressful process of a crowdfunding campaign. And so we identify the most classic moments, the most classic idiosyncrasy is the moment where we all go through these, and there's always the moment when you think you got it, and somebody points out a mistake, and somebody throws in a new idea. So there's always episodes, things that happen. The classic comment from the backer. Oh, but I wanted it in green. Why have you done it in blue? Kind of thing. So all of this stuff, all this stereotypical things that happens, so we try to capture them in a fun game. In a couple of words, basically, each player has a number of projects, and you have to try to fund as many projects as possible. How do you fund them? By collecting cards of 5 different suits. 5 different suits, which are pledges, stretch goals, add-ons, buzz cards, and video cards. So you have to have all 5 to launch a project, and you interact with the other players by using update cards. And update cards are your wild and wacky cards that allow you to steal things from people, or reveal things from people's hands.
Yep.
And finally, there's the audience cards, which shows the other cards you want to have, as well as you need your campaign ready, and you need to grab the audience as much as possible. So through basically a series of rounds where you go around trying to draw the right cards and take the right cards from the opponents, and you eventually will launch. When somebody launches, everybody launches the project, even if they're not finished, and in a rush to grab the audience. And then you see whether you funded, not funded, whether your funding is successful or not. And of course, one of the funniest things, I think, in this whole project is that the projects are very silly. You know, from the potato salad to a huge battle station that can destroy the planet. But so you have a very wide range of projects, and you can have we can create as a company as many as we want. So we thought, let's involve the audience. Because it's about crowdfunding, it's about the crowd. Just like, let's bring people in, let's make them give us ideas for projects, so let's actually have them contribute to stretch goals, to buzz cards, and we try to, invite as much of the community as we can. And we already had quite some good artists, some quite famous artists that have agreed to chip in and do us a card, and basically they are in the game. So you can become part of the game by suggesting cool ideas. You will have your own cards. So we try to make it from the crowd, for the crowd, and so that people can get into the game and become part of the game. And obviously, the more of that, the better, and the bigger the deck is going to be. But we're kind of go tongue-in-cheek, fun, not taking this too seriously, and just see what happens, really.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. I mean, I remember when we were chatting about it when we were together, and you're right, crowdfunding is like a game. There's so many twists and turns. There's some things are all really just down to chance, no matter how much you plan for them. So it's kind of cool to see all those kind of things kind of coming into the game. I think we can see there as well, just for people that don't realise what some of the purpose of tonight is as well, is Chris is actually going to draw my likeness, and I'm going to actually be in the game as well. So I'm really, really sort of privileged and really proud to say that there will be a card of me that will be in that final deck as well. So please, I'm just noticed there as well, Riverhorse has just sent in the chat there as well, if anybody wants to pop your suggestions into the chat for things you'd like to see Cæar draw, and you may include some of your ideas in the game. I was also kind of checking out as well, so you can see just above my head here, there is the Riverhorse Hippo. There's a competition running at the moment on the Riverhorse website. Sorry, it's on the Riverhorse Facebook page, I should say, where you can name the hippo. So there's been many suggestions already. I believe, if I remember right, Alessio, the plan is to kind of pick your 8 favourite or something, and then put it to a public vote.
No, I'm just ignoring all the suggestions and choosing myself. We're going to take the 8 top level, the one we prefer, and then put them to public vote, and then narrow it down. So basically, until we get to the winner, which would be the name of the hippo. And it's not going to be Hippo Face or something. Something like that for sure. Yes, you're right. There's been a lot of engagement. There's been a lot of suggestions. Some serious, some most, I would say, not very serious. It's fun. It's fun. It's the right spirit, I think. People got the right spirit of it. No,
it's a really cool idea. So that competition is open until the 15th of February it is. So it's not too late. If people want to head over, go and like the Riverhorse Games Facebook page, and you can enter that competition as well. I know that I assume it's Cæar that's been drawing some of the designs that are on your Facebook page as well, is it?
Sorry, is it from you or for Cæar, the question?
Yeah, so no, the question was for either of you. I'm assuming some of the designs that have been sort of some of the quirky little kind of pictures that's been drawn, sort of promoting the game so far. Is that Cæar that's been drawing those ones?
Yes, indeed. Yes, Cæar there that is drawing right now is the author of a lot of most of the illustrations on this in this game, and of course because of his funny style, his very cartoony style, which was a perfect match for this kind of. The spirit of the game, this kind of happy, cheerful, tongue-in-cheek, slightly sarcastic tone. I mean, if you look at the little comics we've been making with the hippo as the main character, there's certainly a streak of cheek in there, and the naming the hippo thing was literally something that was a genuine, oh, what do we call the hippo? And I was like, yes, we've always called the hippo. Maybe he needs a name, so he or she needs a name. Yeah. And therefore, we are in the process of naming our hippo, and then that would be beyond Krowdfunder. I mean, that would be just the name of the river horse hippo, because we have the logo of the company is a knight riding a hippo. Yeah. So it's a core thing for us.
Is there just coming on to that then, Alessio? Is there a reason why there's a knight riding a hippo?
Yes, there is. There's a story there. Well, I married a Japanese woman a few years ago. My wife is Japanese, and so I spent lots of time in Japan. I spend quite a lot of time in Japan. Yeah. And when for example, you have to sign a document like a wedding certificate in Japan. Sometimes they make those stamps, print stamp things that ink. That use Japanese characters, so you sign by stamping like that. So when it came to choosing how to spell my name, my surname, in fact, Cavatore, in Japanese symbols, we were, browsing for the possible symbols that could be used to read as Cavatore. Yeah. And Kaba happens to be Japanese for hippopotamus. So when I saw that, and actually I was like, all right, no. Hippopotamus and Tore is like hunt, catch. So it sounded like hunt the hippo. My name sounded like Cavatore, hunt the hippo. So the hippo became effectively the totem animal of the company, because at the time I was also naming the company. Yeah. Yes, so it happened. So the company became Cavatore, my surname, the hippopotamus, and because it's mostly about fantasy and often war games, there was this characterful knight riding a mount, which was a purple hippo, and so that's how the thing came to pass. I mean, it was very fascinating, and I point out on a very intellectual level that when I saw the character for hippopotamus, Kaba, in Japanese, it's made of two other characters merged together. One is the character for river, the other one is for horse. Oh. So hippopotamus, which in Greek, hippos is a horse, potamus is the river. Yeah. So in Greek, hippopotamus is the river horse. In Japanese, and then for Chinese characters, again, is a river horse. Yep. So again, thinking of culture, history, and imagine India, Sanskrit moving to the east and becoming Chinese character hippopotamus, Kaba, and moving to the west and becoming, through the Middle East into ancient Greece, becoming hippopotamus, river horse. So this river horse moving across all different cultures made me feel it was very cool. So river horse it is.
It's like the stars aligned; everything came together for that, didn't it? Definitely. So I guess let's delve back into your background then, Alessio. So you obviously, I think most people would probably know you from your time at Games Workshop originally. Yes. So how did you actually come to start at Games Workshop?
Well, and again, I apologize for people that might have heard this story before. I used to live in Italy when I was young, and I played many role-play games. That was my big thing. Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And until the one day where I broke my leg badly and I had to give up my main sport, etc. So I spent even more time in clubs and gaming clubs. And finally, with my crutch there, with my walking stick, I got to see this huge game on the diorama where people were, Imperial troops were fighting against Ratmen, and I was like, whoa, that looks cool. What is it? And so basically I saw my first game of Warhammer. This is 1994, something like that.
Yeah.
So it was really a small niche thing at the time. The whole thing was a lot smaller. But I got into it big time, badly. I spent more time doing that than study for university. Yes. It was quite a full immersion period of my life, which led to winning the Italian tournament of Warhammer at the time. Small affair, of course, at the time. But yeah, nevertheless, through that I got to meet some people from Games Workshop, which were there to sponsor the event. We started talking. My English was good enough. They offered me a job. They offered me a job to come up to Nottingham and translate Warhammer from English to Italian. And so I came up, did that for a year, and then I was lucky enough or insistent enough that I managed to get a job as an assistant, as a games developer. And so I moved from the Italian business to the actual main studio and started designing, or helping to design first, and then designing many different things. I mean, started with Warhammer, but then I did 40K, Lord of the Rings. So, I did quite a few years against Workshop, 15-ish years. Yeah, it was a long period of my life where I learned my trade, earned my reputation, good or bad. Depends who you ask.
I think that's the case for anyone, isn't it? Depends who you ask. But so you said before that fantasy is kind of your first love, but you did do some work on 40K. Was it? Did you kind of, with the work on 40K? Did you see it as almost the kind of the maths and the numbers of the actual rules, or did you get into kind of the background in the lore of 40K as well?
Well, I've done both things, really. I was lucky that I got to work on supplements, on army lists and army books, codexes, so where you do some world developments, a little bit of IP development, obviously within a certain control. You cannot just do whatever you want, but there is a little bit of degree of working, developing the world. So a little bit of that in the codexes and army books. And also worked on the rules, because actually there was one moment where I had written both was it 7th edition? An edition of Warhammer, an edition of 40K, and the Lord of the Rings. All three main rule books, all three hardbacks had, by Alessio Cavatore, which was really cool. It was, the kind of the top of my career there when I had all three rule books under my name and quite a lot of army books. Yeah. And I suppose that was also the beginning of the end, where basically you kind of go, where do I go now?
What next?
I've done it all. So after 2010, that was the end of my career against Workshop, and that was the same year was the birth of River Horse.
Yeah. So you spent a lot of time at Games Workshop with sort of wargaming, but now you've come across to your own company of River Horse. It seems a lot more board game focused. Was that a conscious effort? Was it?
Well, the original plan was, of course, to do our own games. We started with the idea with Shura, which was a mix of wargaming and chess. And the plan soon changed into supporting other companies. Basically, River Horse was effectively a studio that people can hire out, outsource design. In particular, in this case, was a war game design, because obviously I had a lot of experience in that. So I did write Bolt Action for Warlord Games. I have wrote Kings of War for Mantic, and several other projects, basically where people hired out myself and my little team of designers to do both the rules and sometimes the layout and graphics of their products. I mean, it's something that we still do, much less of these days, I guess because we become a little more expensive, but still in theory we can be hired to do support for other companies. We are in the process of doing that too. But again, the emphasis went from trying to do our own games, then moving into services for other companies, and then actually going back to designing games. And the first one really was a war game, was not a board game, which was the Terminator Genesis war game. And then indeed board games came about, because we had the Labyrinth license from Hansen, and that we thought was not, there's not enough scope for a war game, so we said, let's make a board game. And it was a very good idea, because that board game is still selling amazingly, has sold great in the past. It's just a very, very good, consistent seller, and it's an IP, it's a story that I love to bits. That, it's part of who I am and how I came to be who I am. So that was certainly a great success, the biggest success for River Horse to date. And so from that, we started to think, oh, licensed, nice board game. So we started to acquire more licenses with like that one. We did a role-play game. And again, both Labyrinth and the Tales of Equestria, based on My Little Pony role-play game, were born on me picking some licenses some IP, some stories that I really liked, and that I was enjoying at the time with my daughter. She became an important part of the tone and the atmosphere of some of these games.
Excellent. So, do you still play a lot of games in your own sort of free time now, or once it becomes your career, does that all stop?
Well, you certainly play less when you're working on games, or you try to play something that is not quite the same type of game that you design. But even then, I still do play. For example, I play Bolt Action as my kind of war game hobby. I do go to tournaments and where I get absolutely annihilated every time. I get to do some board gaming. Occasionally, maybe not as much as I would like to, but I still do. Maybe once every other week I get in a good board game night. RPG occasionally, a bit less of that, and of course spend a lot of time in front of the computer playing computer games, or maybe now I'm in a phase where I'm playing a lot of Zelda Breath of the Wild with my daughter. There's the two of us playing and passing the controllers around and exploring this world. It's just amazing. Yeah,
they've done a really good job with those new, especially with the new Zeldas as well. But Breath of the Wild's fantastic. So just quickly looking over into the chat now to see what some things that we've been saying. We've got Craig Lowther's popped in as well. So good evening to Craig. We've got Peter Nicholas in as well. Good evening, Peter. Mark's come in as well. Good evening, Mark. Marco said, "Is Andy's card going to be a stretch goal? It better set it to $1 million." Not if you want to see it.
That will be in the game.
Yeah, so it's going to be in the game. I've been kind of, while we've been chatting, Alessio, I've been kind of drifting across and looking at the work that Cæar's been doing as well. If only I could grow a beard as big as the one that he drew before. This is about as good as it gets, to be fair. It gets a bit wispy after that. We've got Peter is saying hippo face. Oh no, the trap! I fell into it. Yes, of course. Robert said a chipmunk flying on the back of an eagle could work, which I think is what Cæar's been drawing there. I think that's a chipmunk on the back of an eagle. It looks a little bit like a worm with wings, but I think it's meant to be an eagle. Hendrik is saying that he loves Kings of War. A little bit of praise for you, Alessio, there. And Mark is saying for the speech bubble instead of hi, maybe mold lines. This is going back a bit of an inside joke there from a live stream many moons ago when we were talking about I just didn't have enough time on my hands to start scraping away mold lines anymore. I just accept that they're there and get on with it. And Robert says, I think it's for you, Alessio. He says, do you have much input on Clash of Kings now?
Not really, no. I couple of times I went to play in Clash of Kings, and I had my head kicked in. So no, I don't. No, to be honest, I still occasionally go out for lunch with Ronnie, so we have a chat, but I am not working with Formantic at the moment, so there's no direct engagement. No.
So let's touch back on crowdfunder for a little bit, Alessio. So is there have you got a time set when you're looking to get this to crowdfunding? Has that been fixed yet?
Well, we were possibly considering any date that could be a joke in itself. I'm allowed to say. I'm looking at the project manager here. Am I allowed to say? Potentially the 1st of April. It sounds like that could be a good idea for we haven't decided yet, but we're considering that.
Oh, that's cool. So it's not too far away then, is it? And it's kind of creeping up on you now.
Yeah. Well, again, we haven't set it yet in stone, but it's a possibility we're thinking about.
Good. And I'm trying to think back now, because I've got my copy here, which we played with when we went down and did the play test many moons ago, and I've played it a few times since then as well with my family, and we've had a good laugh with it. Actually, it's that part where you fund and everybody makes that mad dash. And I know when we played it, Alessio, all of the projects. It was not the project. Sorry, is it the audience that moves around? I forget which one it was now.
Yeah, the audience is hidden, so you end up grabbing maybe the bad audience as opposed to the good audience, and I mean the old mad scramble to draw to grab one of the cards is the funniest way of playing and is the default way of playing. But we also suggested a more civilized way of playing, which basically the person that launches gets to grab one card, and then you proceed clockwise around the tables. Well, you all get to pick it. That is more gentle. That means that you don't end up breaking people's fingers as you slam your hand onto the table to grab you.
Yes.
So it's up to you to choose which way around you prefer.
No, we quite like that one. It just it makes that little bit of kind of party fun as well. Obviously, when I'm playing with my teenage sons, we're not all we're not alcohol fueled, so it's a little bit more sedate rather than a bit of a drunken scramble. But yeah, it's definitely a good fun party game. Just while I mention it, actually, so we've got me and the guys from Top Table Gaming. I've got a weekend basically lined up in March where we're it's basically a bit of a kind of a mini convention. We're having lots of different games there. So there's a few little tournaments that are being played. There's a lot of open gaming. So I'll be bringing down my copy of Krowdfunder. So any of you guys in the chat, I know there's a few of you that are in the chat tonight who are coming that weekend. We'll certainly have a game of that as well while I'm there. So
let us know when and where, of course. You never know.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. So we've also got Dice Tales is in, says hi or what's up tonight. Good evening to you, Mark. We've got Flying Mammal says it's okay. You can use the drawings as your dating profile. I think my wife might have something to say about that. But yeah, thank you very much. And Peter Nicholas says hi, Alessio. Please could you say which game that you had a hand in are you most proud of? So of all the games you've had some kind of sort of development, is there a one you're most proud of?
Oh, it's very, very difficult. I mean, I'm very proud of several games for different reasons. I am very proud of the My Little Pony roleplay game because we had some letters from dads and moms that actually said this brought us closer to our kids. You know, instead of sitting in front of a screen playing, we were playing it together. We were enjoying family time together. And for somebody who has a kid and brought the game because of that and shared time, hearing that, thinking there's families around that are sharing that, the joy of the fun together with something you've done, it's just amazing. So stuff like that, great. I mean, in terms of geek pride, I suppose probably has to be the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game that I did for Games Workshop, because for me Tolkien is I'm not a religious person, but if there was a thing that is close to being a religion for me, that is Tolkien. Is Lord of the Rings. So being in that and getting to meet the director, Peter Jackson, meeting Richard Taylor and Weta, being on the set, being in the film, in the Return of the King, it was a mystical, out of this world experience. It was literally those days there where I still look at them. Did I dream? Did I dream all of that? Or did it really happen? You know, kind of thing. It's like when you have to watch the film and go, no, that's me. That's right. Yeah.
Just keep pressing pause on the DVD. Yep, that's definitely me. Yeah. I think I remember. I think I've heard a story before, Alessio. I might have heard you tell this on a podcast before. Was there? Did Christopher Lee once come to Games Workshop in Nottingham? Would you like to tell that story? Because I thought that was hilarious when I heard that in an interview.
I can tell the Christopher Lee story. When I gave my autograph to Christopher
That's
Lee.
That's the one I heard. Yeah.
Yes, there was this was the Two Towers, and basically we had the big display table, and he came to visit, and so he walks into the room, and I'm sitting there, about to give him a demo, showing him some stuff. completely paralyzed as he enters the room with his huge presence, this charisma, with his voice that fills the room. And he goes, "Oh, yes, and this is me," holding a little Saruman miniature. And he goes, "Oh, boy, fantastic." I show him the rule book for the Two Towers. I go, "Oh, see, this picture is really nice of you." And he looks at it and goes, "I don't have this picture. It's really nice. Oh, can I keep this?" And I go, "Oh, that's my only rule book because it's a prototype." And and of course, what you say, I like, "Oh, yes, of course." And then I realized that actually I had signed it because it was the only ones who really wanted to go walkies and stay there. So I go, "Sorry, but there's my signature. I signed it, if you don't mind." And he looks at me and goes, "Ah, so I get your autograph. Ah, lucky me."
Fantastic. So Christopher Lee has an Alessio signature. That's it.
Yeah, he did. And then he actually recited there and there in the room. There and then he did a piece of, when he's standing on the top of Orphank and he's sending the weather.
Yeah.
Caradras, and he's summoning in Quenya. So ancient Elvish. He just goes in and goes, "Oh, Caradras." Well, he recited there in front of us, and it was like, oh my God, it was amazing.
Oh, I mean, it's certainly one of those kind of, certainly from the movie side of things, it's a modern day classic now. It's kind of a film franchise that'll be remembered for years to come, and to be so close and so kind of sort of involved in it from that side of things, it must leave some brilliant memories.
Well, particularly if you are literally reading, I read Lord of the Rings most Christmases, and I read all of Tolkien. I have calendars. I have, it's just, for me, it's really a big thing. So actually, to be there was, So the top geek moment of my life.
I can imagine, yeah. Robert Marshall in the chat there saying Lord of the Rings is still a great game. He's glad to see it's had a bit of a comeback. So yeah, it's nice to see it's had a bit of rejuvenation now. Mark there at Dice Tales is saying he's very tempted by Lord of the Rings, thinking of a Thorin company, and he's asking who's drawing. So that is for anybody that's just joined the chat. We have Chris Cæar from Riverhorse there, who is he is drawing my likeness to be included in the Krowdfunder game, which is this is probably my geek moment, Alessio. So yeah, it's really nice to have that. Marco is asking Alessio, which is there a movie or a video game that you would love to turn into a board game?
There's a few. We are in talks about some. I'm not allowed to say which ones, but there are a few indeed. I mean, just off the top of my head, without being serious about it, of course, now I'm playing Breath of the Wild, and you just look at it and go, "Oh my God, that would be fantastic." I do hear that Nintendo are a bit hard to get to give licenses out.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
It would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice, definitely, yeah. And Robert Marshall also says Starship Troopers as a board game or a tabletop game would be epic. Definitely.
Well, I do have a Starship Troopers board game. I have a bit of a collection at home. And, I own an Avalon Hill bookcase size game of Starship Troopers, which is actually a very good game. It's a very good game, I think, if you really prepare to invest a lot of time in it. It's got some really unique systems, because when you play against there's two main enemies, the humanoids and the arachnids. And the humanoids are easy meat for the mobile infantry. And the mobile infantry, which is done by the book, not by the film. Yeah. As in the book, they are wearing power armor. These guys are in power armor, while actually in the film, which great film, good fun. Such sort of film. Obviously, they're more like I don't know, Imperial Guards rather than the Marines. But the board game is based on the book license, because there was no film at the time, of course. So it was before the film. And when you play against the arachnids, what is really interesting as a mechanic is that the mobile infantry player lands on a map. This is like cardboard counters and hexes. Yeah, you land on a map. There's nothing on the map. You're landing on an empty planet, and the arachnid player has a sheet, a pad of sheets, which have the map, and so they draw literally the complex, the arachnid complex, before the infantry lands, and then they can send the warriors through the cells, through the center of the from the center of their hive into the tunnels and pop out of the ground. So they create breaches, so the arachnid player will go, put a breach marker on the table, and suddenly the sprout, huge amounts of these arachnids pour out of that thing and attack you. And then there's a mobile infantry has nukes, like rocket launcher nukes, nukes mines to destroy the tunnels. In some scenarios, you actually get into the tunnels, so your tokens disappear, and then you have to go, okay, the tunnel goes, and the arachnid player goes, you can go left or right. And so you send your troops one way or the other. So it's it's an interesting mechanic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fun to be had with that game. So, if you find it on eBay or something, Avalon Hill, search your troops.
Yeah, it sounds quite deep actually for what you would instantly assume wouldn't necessarily kind of warrant it, I suppose. But yeah, based upon the book, I guess it's slightly different, isn't it? Yeah. So you said, Alessio, you've been in sort of tabletop industry for quite some time now. How would you say what's the biggest difference these days versus when you first started back at Games Workshop?
Well, it certainly has grown to a different size, of course. I mean, Games Workshop at the time was a smaller company. There wasn't, the audience wasn't as big. It was, at the time, perhaps more aimed at older audience. While obviously then, through the years, the target audience became younger. So, everything was black and white at the time. And, so certainly also technology had a huge impact on everything. Of course, we went from, at the time, pretty much everything was metal.
Yeah.
While now pretty much everything is plastic, of course. And the sculpting was all physical, and while now obviously it's all digital. Well, not all digital, but mostly digital. So, I mean, the size of the business has grown, and the licensing that they started to spread out in video games, books, etc. So he created a reality that is a lot bigger than what it used to be. And on the other end, crowdfunding these days has enabled quite a lot of smaller companies to perhaps bring out more projects. So there's a lot of alternatives, ideas, alternative products for people to explore. I mean, there's not, there's a little revival of different games ideas and the war games that people can still try out.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I'm just looking. Marco's just saying, what's going to be after Crowdfunder? Have you got any plans after Crowdfunder that you can talk about?
Ooh. Well,
that you can talk about being the key point.
After Crowdfunder, there's another project that uses a Henson license again. That we're working on. In fact, there's a few, and Cæar is very heavily involved with one of these. I think we're going to announce them fairly soon, but yes, we're sticking with a couple of Henson things.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll not push you too much on it there.
I wish I could say.
Brian is saying, didn't I see Alessio doing some bolt action? Yeah, you mentioned that before, Alessio, didn't you? You still play from time to time.
Which one, sorry?
Sort of Brian was saying, he says, didn't I see Alessio doing some bolt action? I was saying you mentioned before, didn't you, that you still play from time to time?
Yeah. I make sure that I do at least a tournament a year, but probably two, actually, because I think the Grand Tournament, I will be playing the Grand Tournament next year here in Lenton and Nottingham. Bolt action is still at the moment, is my war game of choice in terms of, let's say, from a hobby point of view.
Yeah. So which army do you play? What's your army of choice?
Americans.
Yeah.
I think because I grew up with Hollywood, and I think it feels like playing the good guys because you're used to the movies. So clearly you play the Germans and they're the bad guys, and you play the Americans, they're the good guys. Which obviously is nonsense, of course. But yeah, it still has that feel for me, and the game is pretty much written as a cinematographic type approach. So it's like Saving Private Ryan. I'm playing Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers when I play bolt action. Therefore, I play the Americans. That's the amount of depth that I put into it. So I enjoy that.
I think it's I've personally never played bolt action actually, but from what I hear of it from people who have, it's one of the things they enjoy is the fact that it is the Hollywood kind of version of World War II. which is I guess is what you want out of a game, isn't it? It's meant
Well,
to be.
Not necessarily. I mean, some people like a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Some people like a game that maybe is simpler and flows more of a game, more as a game. We suddenly, when designing Bolt Action, we decided to do some very clear-cut, simple differences. For example, I don't know, there is no difference between a MP40 or a Thompson. They're all submachine guns. It's a submachine gun. We didn't go into differences. If you want to be precise, of course, machine guns, submachine guns, anti-tank guns, you could have huge charts with all the differences between all the different types of anti-tank guns. But actually, we divided into bands. Yeah, it's like 4 types. There are 4 types of anti-tank guns in the game. So it works for some people, doesn't work for other people. But I mean, the game is very successful. War games are doing really well with it, and we're all very happy with what we've done. It's fun.
Oh, that's excellent. Mark was also asking, what's your thoughts around augmented reality and tabletop games? Do you have any thoughts about that? Is it something that you can see happening?
It's something that we did explore. Something we have a couple of ideas about. Some, let's say, some use of technology in the wargaming. I still haven't seen something that convinced me 100%. Maybe we're not there yet, but I don't think it's that far away.
I did see one which wasn't augmented reality, but it was virtual reality with the goggles and everything on, and it was a kind of strategic war game, but you were actually moving the pieces around. It was almost a weird mix of it was a war game in virtual reality. So the tanks were driving around and shooting, and the troops were fighting, and you could kind of pick them up and relocate them and move them to where they were needed. So there's definitely something kind of around that, I guess. I'm just looking at what Caesar's drawing there as well. I must admit, I really like that, and I can see his notes are back to front to me, but it does say note to self: game about YouTubers. He said it's his idea. I think he must have saw somebody in the chat might have mentioned that one. So I guess we've kept you now for 45 minutes, Alessio. I think we'll wrap things up and let you guys call an evening of it, because I really do appreciate you staying up and chatting to us. I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions in the chat before we let you go, but I think it's just kind of random there. Chat to everybody else there with that. So what I will say is thank you so much, Alessio. No doubt we'll be back in touch as well as Krowdfunder gets ready to launch. We'll be having some games at our weekend convention in March. And Chris, I just want to thank you as well, Cæar, for your awesome doodling this evening.
That's right. I probably would have been doodling anyway. Nice to have an audience.
I must admit, I really like the design as well. So then, folks, I'll say goodbye to Riverhorse, to Alessio, to Chris, and also to Dave, who's operating the electronics in the background. Thanks, Dave, for your help today. We've got a few people in the chat here. It's been a great chat. Thanks to the Riverhorses.
Thank you.
So, thanks very much to you guys. I'll let you head off, and we'll continue the chat. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Good night.
Night now. So then, folks, that is the river. I can take my headphones out now. That is the chat with Riverhorse tonight. So how cool is it to have somebody sitting there doodling away and drawing my own card for the game? Who'd have thought it? So I can catch up with the chat a little bit more now. Who have we got? We got Brian in as well. I don't know if I say hi to Brian. We've got Mark saying cheers to Riverhorse as well. There, amazing chat. Yeah, I guess when Alessio's got so much time kind of in the industry, it's interesting to hear some of the stories, especially the ones about his kind of time with Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's obviously been a bit of a passion project for him. I remember reading somewhere, or I certainly heard in an interview with him, where basically, like you mentioned tonight, really, Lord of the Rings was almost like kind of his religion, really. So, yeah, cool to see that. So then, folks, what's everybody been up to? Did you have a good weekend? Did you get much gaming in? What have you been doing? Marco says, great work. Glad to see successful Italians. Mark says it was cool. Flying Mumble said, oh yeah, we said that one. Thanks to the river horses. Steve says the card looked really cool, mate. Yeah, it was kind of weird. I'm just kind of sitting here trying to think about what I want to kind of say to Alessio, and all the time I'm kind of looking at Chris's doodling away in the background. So yes, I'm feeling a bit. I'm not normally this close to the lights, so I'm getting a bit of a red face here tonight. Let's say I tried to set my my stream up with my normal position back over there where I normally am, but my headphones weren't long enough to go to my PC, so I couldn't hear what they were saying. So yeah, so I've kind of camped out on my PC tonight. So then, folks, what have you been up to? Has anybody been doing any painting tonight? What have you been painting? I know Matt said he's got some commission work that he's rattling out there as well. Robert said he didn't know how much he impacted on the wargaming community. Incredible. Yeah, he's a bit of a kind of he's a bit of a wargaming legend, really. I mean, when he was saying there about how at one point he'd wrote the rules for Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40k, and Lord of the Rings. It makes you wonder kind of how he had time to do it all. It is amazing though, but yeah, nice guy. Always been really, really kind of friendly when I've chatted with him. Really approachable guy as well. Sort of if you ever see him at conventions or things like that, he's always happy to have a chat as well. Steve says he's had 3 games of Dread Ball and he lost all 3, but he had a great laugh. What team are you playing, Steve? Did you pick anything up in the Mantic Dread Ball sale recently when they had some half-price teams? Did you pick any of that up? I had what did I do this weekend from a gaming perspective? I've obviously been making videos. That took up a big chunk of my weekend, but I did manage to have a few games of the new Age of Sigmar, the Rise and Fall of Anvilor, the board game which was from WizKids. So back end of 2017, October 2017 it was. Excuse me. WizKids and Games Workshop, announced a partnership that they were going to start collaborating on some board games and things. And I'm not sure if there's been any more out before this, but certainly this is one of the first ones that came out. So I played about 3 solo games of it on Friday. And then on Saturday evening, me and my wife played a few games of it as 2-player as well. And, well, the review's coming tomorrow night, so I won't spoil too much of it. But just, I was surprised. Let's just say I was surprised. Craig is, I don't know if I said hello to you, Craig. Good evening, Craig, by the way. He said, had a good game against Knight and Magnus. Bjorn was his MVP and took out Magnus and a Castellan. And tonight I'm working on a squad of intercessors. Really like your Bjorn model that you painted, mate. So if anybody hasn't seen it, if you head over to the Facebook page, Craig has just joined our group tonight. And his first post was some amazing painted pictures of Bjorn, which were awesome. Christian said he's not been up to much, really waiting for his Drowned Earth stuff to come. Did you get that sorted, Christian? I saw that they cancelled the order and refunded the money. Was there some problem with the web store or something? Marco said he spent the weekend painting his Blackstone Fortress characters and following the Dark Rituals Kickstarter campaign. So have you backed it then, Marco? Have you put some money into the Dark Rituals? Mark said he played Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, Keyforge, and got his Mantic Spring Open ticket. Nice one. See you there, buddy. Is it May the 4th? Did I remember that right? Is that when the Mantic Open day is? Is anybody else planning on going to Mantic? Robert said he's stuck at the moment as well. He's got a spooky ghost on the paint table for a break from his guards, but spray cans are not great when it's cold. So spooky ghosts have not been primed. Did you see, I don't know if anybody watches the Miniac channel. Did you see he did a video about spraying in really cold temperatures? It was a bit of a kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of video, but I think the essence of the video, if you warm the cans up, if you if you put them in a kind of a pot of hot water or warm water and really kind of warm the paint up and give it a good shake, you probably still get away with being able to spray it outdoors, I think. Not if it's raining, of course. That's the other one. Steve said he's played the Zor. No, I didn't get anything as I had some stuff for Christmas. Nice one. The Zor are a bit tricky, I think, aren't they? And they got some strange little rules. Adam Edgar's in. Sorry, Adam, I don't know if you've been in earlier, but I didn't see you, buddy. Good evening, Adam. Hope you're well. He said he really needs to add the owl to the card. I should have mentioned that. Craig saying, did anyone else back the Rampant Kickstarter? Or Rampart Kickstarter, sorry. I don't even think I know what it is, actually, if I'm honest. Mark's saying it is May the 4th. Chris is saying he's busy working on some Photoshop work for the next video. Nice one, mate. Good to see you cranking them out. We've got Johnny Jambo. He says, finished painting his Blackstone Fortress figures, as well as giving them a coat of PVA. Came up nice. I don't know whether to varnish them. Do you always give your miniatures a coat of PVA, mate? Like, do you just use kind of like thin down glue? I've never PVA coated my miniatures. Kind of makes me think. I actually don't even spray them. I don't even like gloss or seal my miniatures afterwards. Christian is saying to Robert, yeah, put the spray can into warm tap water for 5 minutes, give it a shake, put it back in the water, you should be good. Marco says, yep, attackers. Steve says, yep, I'm going to Spring Open Day as well. Nice one, buddy. See you there. And we've got Jack in as well. Says, hello, Andy, and hello, all. Good evening, Jack. And Marco says, yep, he pledged for the attack and hordes option in Dark Rituals. Awesome, mate. Awesome, awesome stuff. Christian just saying there, yes, so there's a problem with a new payment source. Now they're just taking payments through PayPal, so you got it in the end. So what did you go for, mate? What did you pick up? I saw you'd got some, is it Art of War? You'd got some tokens from them. They look nice. Johnny says, yeah, PVA glue straight out of the tube. Looks too thick and cloudy, but dries clear. So is that just to give it a bit of a, kind of like a hard coat? Is it just to seal it over? I've never really, I don't think I've ever, like, sealed my miniatures, to be fair. I'm trying to think back now. I don't think I have, but to be fair, mate, now I've started doing more airbrushing. They are very thin kind of layers of paint, so I probably should give them a bit of a once over. Especially with my little one, when he's kind of running around my room in here. If he knocks one over, I'll soon know about it. And Johnny says, yeah, so he's saying about the thick PVA glue. So while I kind of thinking on as well, because it's up on my screen now as well, I just wanted to say a massive thanks to all of my existing and all of my new Patreon supporters. I put a little post on the Facebook group this week about Patreon. I've redone some of the pledge levels and stuff to try and make it. Two reasons really. One, to make it easier for me to fulfill, because I don't want to put any kind of videos behind like a paywall type thing. I want to try and keep the videos free, but if people would like the support, then obviously they can. And it was amazing, really, the response. It was quite touching, really, if I'm honest, that people kind of believe in what I'm trying to do and help me out. So we've got James Hughes on there as well, was a new pledger. Darren Portman was a new pledger. Jimmy White massively came in and pledged as well. Let me see who else was on the list as well. I know Christian Reeves increased his pledge as well. That was massive. Thanks, Christian. We had Cam also pledged as well. Paul Welch donated. VJ Morph. Yeah, just I can't. And that was on top of everybody that already supports as well. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks. We've got Bazza in from Underdog Painting. Good evening, Bazza. Adam says he's been playing Vigilus 40k campaign and the Warhammer Skirmish campaign at his local G-Dubs. Nice, mate. Is that where you normally play? Do you normally play at the GW store? Matt says he varnishes gaming models with gloss and then a matte for protection, but not display stuff. Yeah, maybe that means I don't play enough. Maybe that's why I've never had a problem. Adam says he's painting up his Death Guard as well. Christian says he got the tokens, he got a 2-player starter bundle and a few packs of dinosaurs. Nice, mate. I have to tell you what you think when you get them. There was somebody once in the Facebook group painted up, is there like a big monkey, like a big ape or something like that? She'd painted up that model and it looked awesome. It really did look nice. But you'll have to tell me what you think of the quality, mate. I've never seen them in my hand. Art is saying, evening all. Nice to see Alessio. Funny enough, I was playing some Lord of the Rings Battle Companies the other night. Excellent rule set. Yeah, good evening, Art, by the way. Yeah, nice to see Alessio. I must admit, when we set this up, I think there was a bit of confusion and they thought that we streamed from 7 till 8. So when I double checked this morning to make sure everything was okay, it was like Oh, you're not starting till 9. So yeah, so I really do appreciate them kind of staying up a bit late. I know Chris, who was the artist there, he'd already been streaming for a few hours as well before he came on here. So yeah, it was. I really do kind of appreciate them staying up a bit later for me. Skullmunch says, I've been tipped off that neck braces are on sale. So thanks for the heads up. do you write these all down and just kind of like sort of keep them for a Monday night live stream? Jackson, he never seals his minis. I'm worried about frosting. Yeah, I think it used to be quite a bit. I think I've used, what's it called again? It used to be called Purity Seal, or I've heard of people using Purity Seal and it frosting up. But like I said, I'd never used it. So Robert says, great advice, cheers. Painting them with mostly washes to give the ghost effect. We'll post pics when I'm happy with them. Please do, Robert. It'll be nice to see them. Skullmunch said he's intrigued about AOS Warcry. I've kind of done a little bit more digging around it, and it seems like, I forget the guy's name now, but the guy that, if anybody's aware of, there was a guy who did like a fan version, like a skirmish version of AOS, which was called Hinterlands. He now works for Games Workshop, and he's involved in this project, which makes me think it's more kind of skirmish game focused, unless he's just working on some rules. But it makes me think it's more skirmish game focused. I don't think it's going to be Mordheim. I don't think it's going to be that. But it could be kind of Mordheim-esque for AOS. Maybe something slightly more narrative. Maybe almost Necromunda for AOS. Something like that. Who knows, eh? Bazza says he's just finished his Neophyte Hybrids and just got his Codex, Bring on the Cult. Got plenty of them to paint them, mate, yeah? Marco says he brushed with his matte varnish from Vallejo on some of his minis. It's great. Yeah, I've got the matte varnish from Vallejo. I if you saw my video about putting transfers on, I use the gloss and the matte for that. I've used the gloss to kind of get some shiny parts on some miniatures. But the matte I tend to use. Sometimes if I put a wash on, and sometimes the wash goes a little bit glossy, I'll use the matte varnish over the top of that. Steve said he's still painting Veerman, ready for Franticon. Have you got many left to do, buddy? Or are you about ready there? Peter says he's found new Wargames Factory Zombies, and he's been painting them over the last week. Ruth saying, I'm so sorry. I assume you're apologising for Sean there. No need to apologise. I'd much rather he saved them all up rather than unless he tries all these jokes out on you, sees which one gets the biggest groan, and then those are the ones that he brings to the live stream. Adam says, morning mate. Morning bud. Jack says, I saw on Twitter from the Broken Brush use very, very thin coat of Lamia medium over the model, and it removes shine from shades and removes bad shade lines. Not tried it, but it sounds good. I can imagine it does that because you can mix it with paints, can't you? Excuse me. I'm on my head of it. I was up really early this morning. You can mix it with paints, can't you, to make washes? So it's obviously part of the sort of the makeup of it, if you like. Sean saying another one of those same time next week. I'll hold you to that, buddy. He also says a smaller scale AOS will be good for getting out some of those old minis. Have you tried the new AOS skirmish yet that was in White Dwarf recently? I saw Ash Barker on Guerrilla Miniature Games has been doing a few games of it, but he moves so fast that sometimes it's quite hard to actually to see what's happening in the rules. Let's have a look. Ruth saying someone posted a tutorial for painting Dobby and Creature Harry Potter miniatures in the group, but I can't find it. Anyone know who posted it? I wonder if it was the only person I know who's been doing the Harry Potter stuff was Big Mech Danskull. It might have been him. Have a check and see if you can find that one. Bazza says he's the master of hordes. Steve says 2 finished, 11 to go. That's not bad, mate. You're more than 10% of the way there. Matt says he also uses Vallejo matte varnish for filling gaps halfway through painting. For filling gaps? So what? So I'm kind of like stuttering on my words now. So if you get a bit of a gap between two pieces, you can fill it with varnish and then paint over the top. Is that what you do? If it is, that's quite clever. Peter says, doesn't AOS have skirmish rules now? It does, but it had skirmish rules for a while, to be fair, but they didn't do anything with them. I'm really sorry. This is terrible. It just suddenly hit me there. I should have had a coffee, not a glass of water. It does have skirmish rules, and they've just re-released them, like a skirmish 2.0 version was in the last, was it January's White Dwarf. I've read through the rules. It seems quite good. Matt's saying there he loves the new rules. He played it the other night. Yeah, so the new ones in White Dwarf are basically kind of a rewrite of the ones, because they actually sold it. It was a book you could buy. I bought it on PDF, but never ever played it. Steve said he varnishes his metal models, but normally doesn't bother with plastic. Yeah, to be honest, we're talking about metal models. Just have a look over the top there. I've got my Infinity models there. And I do, whenever I kind of like nudge one, I think, oh, if they're bashed together or something, they could probably do with being sealed, I think. Jack says he's just painted 5 dwarf minis from the Northern Alliance. He's painted loads of dwarfs from Mantic before. That could have been that I could have used, but I wanted to use a different paint scheme for the Northern Alliance. What paint scheme have you gone for, mate? Have you gone something a little bit different? Bazza says he's been off YouTube for 3 weeks. Feel like my arms have been cut off. Hope to get a few videos out soon. Some showcase videos. Yeah, it's funny when you have a bit of a break, mate, isn't it? You kind of, yeah, it's sometimes can get quite hard to kind of get back into it, really, if you have too much time off. Because you start to think, you start to remember how much spare time you had before you started it. I'm certainly kind of finding that at the minute, obviously a lot of my spare time is, let's be honest, all of my spare time is being taken up with making videos at the minute. And even the time I'm not spending videos, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, and I'm kind of planning other stuff out and playing games as well. Luckily, my wife's been she's kind of interested to play some games with me as well. So Saturday night, for example, we had a takeaway, a bottle of wine, and we played some board games. Marco's just saying, "Oh, we boring." Do you know what it is, Marco? This is what happens when you kind of, it's catching up with me. Early mornings, late nights, grinding away. I edited a video. I finished work today. I edited a video before I did the live stream tonight. Then I kind of ran around getting all the live stream stuff ready. Yeah, it's not catching up with me. I just didn't have a very good sleep last night. That's what it is. Matt says, yeah, time's halfway through painting new gap, filled with a couple of coats of matte varnish, and then just crack on. I need to try that out, mate. That's it kind of blew my mind when I was reading it. And I'm thinking, is that what he means? That's pretty good, that. Peter says he hopes to see some painted dwarfs because he's assembling some and some abyssal from Mantic. Just try something different to 40k. Very nice. Jack says the other dwarfs are browns, greens, and reds. So went for blue, as these have loads of blue paint from buying issue 1 of Warhammer 40k Conquest. I've still never bought an episode, I was going to say. I've never bought a copy of Warhammer I've never bought a copy of Warhammer Conquest. The reason I didn't buy it was that the majority of the models that were in it were stuff that I already had from when I'd bought, was it Dark Imperium? So the Space Marines and the Death Guard. If it had been different factions, like if it had been different armies, I might have been quite interested to pick that up, actually, because it is a really nice way to build up an army over time, like sort of a bit slower, at a nicer pace. And then you get that kind of, you get that new kind of like little delivery through the door. It's quite nice. So, bit of, I'm just looking at my chart for this week, videos you've got coming this week. So tomorrow we've got an unboxing of some new miniatures for a new game, and I won't tell you what they are. I'll let you watch that video tomorrow. No, ignore me. It's Monday, isn't it? Tuesday we've got the board game review. The board game review of the Age of Sigmar: Rise and Fall of Anvalor. It has been a long day. Wednesday we've got the miniatures unboxing. Thursday, I've got a video about the board gaming bubble. A bit of a kind of a sort of a, what do they call them? Talking headpiece, where I kind of just tell my thoughts and my opinions. And then Friday, you may have seen in the Facebook group today, I posted a picture of the Gene Stealers that I've been painting. So literally about 15 minutes a model. That's all it took me to do it. I've kind of tried to find a way to get them done really quick. So anybody that's got loads of Gene Stealers to paint, or they just want to paint a little batch up quick for Kill Team, Friday's video will show you how to knock them out 15 minutes each. And they look pretty good. I'm happy with them anyway. Where are we? Like, Buzzer says he thinks he's going to finish his Go Chosen game. Go Chosen's awesome. It's a great game. I'll play that every now and again. I'll kind of pull that one out. I gave my Go Chosen models just a really quick paint job. Primed them black, zenithal from the top with a white or a light grey, and then I kind of picked out on one of the models. I maybe picked out like a corn symbol and the head of an axe, or kind of like a sash around his waist with like red. Another model I did is something similar with a blue, and I just did it just so you can kind of tell them the miniatures apart. Really, I didn't want to do a full paint job on them, but they look pretty cool. I like them. Robert says he's bought like 5 of the first issue. I think loads of people did. Was it like $2.99 or something? But you got about like 10 quid worth of paint. Jack says he only bought a few issue 1 to maybe start some Space Wolves for Kill Team. Good idea, mate. Good idea. Johnny is saying he had a gap in one of his Psyker figures from Blackstone Forest, filled it with super glue and sprinkled bicarb of soda on it, and it set hard. I've heard of that before. But it always worries me, kind of thinking, do you get that kind of weird lip of the super glue? And when you sprinkle the bicarb in, does it go everywhere? I've always wondered whether that's the case. I tend not to do much gap filling, I'll be honest. My painting's not awesome by any sort of stretch. I'm pretty happy with my painting. Like, it's kind of like it's good enough, if you like. So, let's have a look. So these are the guys, when I painted these ones, you may be able to see them. Like, I'm kind of happy. Is that going to focus onto that? I'm kind of happy with how they look. You know, they're decent gaming pieces. They actually look worse in the videos because they're so close up. So when you actually see them in the flesh, they're pretty awesome. I like them, but I'm never going to win any. I'm not going to win any awards or anything like that. So I tend not to kind of get sort of too hung up on gap filling and stuff like that. Where are we at? Peter says McCrag blue and Mephiston red enough to paint my car. Margaret saying, what do you think about 40k Shadow Spear box coming up? What do I think of it? It's interesting that it's all new models. I'll tell you that. I like the new Primaris models. I think it's interesting that they've brought them snipers out. It really does feel like gradually, bit by bit, they're getting ready to wipe out the old Marines. Definitely. It's obviously the start of Chaos coming back as well, new Chaos miniatures. And it wouldn't surprise me if over time they start to get the Primaris treatment of a bit of a different size. Will I be picking it up? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I've got that much kind of. It's weird actually. Like, my hobby's massively changed now. I kind of paint stuff for videos now, and I paint stuff sort of smaller scale games, or if I'm going to a tournament, I'll paint something up. But I tend not to get like sucked into big box sets and that now. Who knows, mate? Bazza says, you know me, mate. Can't paint them quick. Got to paint detail, detail, detail. I used to spend forever painting detail, and I was a half decent painter. I'll be honest. Like, if I really take my time, I've kind of done some pretty decent work. But it just takes me forever. I get as much enjoyment from playing with painted miniatures that took me like 20 minutes to do as I do for something that took me like 2 weeks to do. So that's kind of where I am mentally anyway. We've got VJ Morphin. Good evening, VJ. I was just saying thank you very much to you earlier on for joining my Patreon pledges. Thank you very much. Johnny says you just had a violet flush afterwards. Yeah, I suppose so. If you're going to do it before you've done any painting, though, like Matt, the way Matt was saying, he's kind of, it's almost like as you find it as you go kind of thing. Where if you're going to violet flush, would you not? Is it not just as easy to do green stuff? VJ says he uses the Vallejo putty with a long nib for gap filling. And he says he assumes the interview with Alessio has already happened. Yes, it was. We did it until about 9:45, mate. From 9 o'clock to about 9:45. So if you watch it back, the first 45 minutes is the Alessio interview. It said, love the Highlander playthrough video on Beasts of War. So good, he knows his Kurgan quotes for sure. He certainly does. Jack said it's great to see some new chaos as they were my 40k faction. Looking at the new AOS skirmish and the last couple of White Dwarf mags using my Shadespire minis. That's a good use of it. Actually, it would be really nice if this new game kind of makes use of the miniatures a little bit like the way Kill Team does, so where you can only field what comes in a box kind of thing. That would be quite interesting. VJ says, no worries, mate. Happy to support the channel. It's massively appreciated, mate. Honestly, it is massively appreciated. Mark says it takes me about an hour to make a mini look like I just dipped it. Honestly, I mean, I mentioned it before. It's all tricks and kind of sort of tweaks and tricks of the eye and stuff. But yeah, it's when you see them on video and they're really sort of super zoomed in, you see all the bits you've missed, or you see all the kind of slightly rough dry brushing or anything. But when you actually see them sort of in the flesh, arm's length, they look amazing, honestly. VJ says, cool, we'll go back and watch it later, thanks. Thank you very much. So, folks, let's have a quick look. We'll see what's happening in and around on the Facebook group as well. So let's see if we've got any news. I want to try and show if I can... actually, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can because I've... let's have a, see if we can get around it. Because I've set my screens up now. Let's have a look. If I just have a look at... If I do this one. So, Christian has been making a pretty darn amazing dice box there. He said he's been making that one out of an old cigar box. Are you a bit of a secret cigar smoker, Christian? Yeah, really nice, mate. I like it. Very nice indeed. It says the outside of it's deep sea green colour, and it's got foam underlay with sides and a felt top. I'm also looking in the background, mate, see what else you've got going on there as well. I like your war cup. That's quite cool. Got a couple of Marines there and all your Walking Dead stuff prepped there, ready to go. This was what I wanted to share as well. So this is Craig's Bjorn model. Really, really nicely done, mate. Love the detail on there. Love the frost kind of, what they're called, talons. I don't know what you would call them. Really nice bit of work there, mate. Nice and clean. Love the snow base as well. What do you do if you're still there, buddy? What do you do to use you? What do you do for your snow bases, mate? Marco saying sorry, he's got to log off. Thanks for being patient with my questions and comments. Anytime, buddy. Says it was my first live show and won't be the last. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Really do appreciate it, and thanks for the questions for Alessio too. Bazza said he's been commission free for a while. He's managed to paint his own models, but he's going to be doing a Death Corps or a Krieg army soon for a client. Shameless plug if anyone wants a commission. I think, I tell you what, I wouldn't fancy paying for a Krieg army or a Death Corps army, because it's all Forge World stuff in it. And everyone's saying cheerio to Marco. Jack's saying love that Bjorn. Yeah, it's done a nice job on that, hasn't he? That is really nice. Those are my Gene Stealer Cult, so I'll be showing you how to paint them on Friday. Craig's saying paint the base white and then use Valhalla Blizzard. Valhalla Blizzard is magic in it. But yeah, it's interesting you do it with white underneath, because I guess that makes it look a bit thicker. I like to kind of do it with a bit of a grey, so it almost looks like frosted stone underneath. But yeah, I'll be showing you how to paint these on Friday. This is my Friday hobby video, so that's one to watch out for. Patrick's been doing a little bit of testing different stuff. I won't tell you what he said in the comments about how it turned out, but yeah. So Ian Ross has been painting some miniatures for Eden. Is Eden a game anybody ever played before? I remember buying some Eden miniatures going back to probably my first visit to Salute? It might have been. And I bought a couple of little war bands. They're really nice. The Eden miniatures, quite small scale, kind of along the lines of like Malifaux type thing, Infinity from a scale perspective. But yeah, really nice crisp. Tim had a bit of a spill this week. He's now joined the club. Steve from Top Table's been sharing his Middle Earth Army showcase, so it's worth checking that one out. And Carl has also been sharing his Saga Viking project. And it looks like Alex has been playing a bit of Mordheim. Not something you see very often, is it? So there you go. Just a little bit of a kind of a little visit through the hobby there of what's happening in the Facebook group. VG is saying he spent the last 2 evenings building 3 Beasts of Nurgle and a Great Unclean one. Beast was super fiddly, but I have to say the Great Unclean one was easy and a pleasure to build. They're an amazing model. I can imagine it's quite a model to paint. There's a lot on it, isn't there? But yeah, be awesome. Antonio, good evening. I'm not sure if you mentioned anything earlier on, but good evening. Nice to have you in the chat. He said he's got a fully Tomb King's army painted from when he had a time during college. Today is about washers and dry brushes to make them table ready fast. That's exactly where I am, mate. I spent so much time trying to get like a really, really, really good paint job that I spent so little time actually playing them, because I don't like playing with unpainted miniatures if I can get away with it. And certainly now with the channel and stuff, you can't really put unpainted miniatures on a video. You can, don't get me wrong, like it's everybody's choice, but I wouldn't personally on my channel. But yeah, I'm certainly now in the place of dry brushing, washes, kind of little tips and tricks, highlighting certain areas so that it draws your eye. I've kind of made peace with my painting pile now. I think that's what it is. VJ says nice. He's doing a Gene Stealer cult. We'll be interested to see your method. Yep, Friday 7 o'clock, buddy. That one will be live. Or 7 o'clock my time. Yeah, you are in the UK, aren't you? Underdog says you could also use filler and then dry brush grey up to white. The Valhalla Blizzard is awesome, mate. If you've never used it before, honestly, I would swear by it. I've tried loads of different white sort of snow products, but that one by far and away. If I was going to do snow stuff, I would only ever buy that one now. VJ says, yeah, painting is a bit daunting. I can imagine, mate. Robert says, base colour, wash, dry brush, can't beat it. And Matt says, faces, bases and banners. He's not wrong. Matt's painting is phenomenal. He's a hell of a painter. But I think even Matt will kind of say that. It's sometimes you can spend, it's almost that point of diminishing return sometimes. Unless you are a really, really skilled painter, there's a point where actually I'll get exactly, or I'll get a finish that is just as good when I reach a certain point, and I'll either make it worse by going too far, or it'll just plateau off, and actually I won't really improve it. VJ says he's in Australia, just outside of Sydney. I had it in my head you were in the UK, mate. That was why I kind of second guessed myself, because I thought I'm sure he's not in the UK, and then I thought yes he is. Sorry, buddy. I think it's good morning to you then anyway. Steve was saying, washers, dry brushing and dipping are perfect for us old guys whose eyes are on the way out. Yes, I'm with you on that one, mate. I did pick up some reading glasses just to use for painting, and I think I got like 1.5 or might have been 1.25 foot magnification. But yeah, if you're painting details, it's amazing the difference it makes. Or it certainly is for me. So if VJ is saying the live stream starts at 8 AM for him, wow, mate, that's commitment. It's kind of something I've thought about in a while, because I tend to start my stream at 9 o'clock, and it's quite late for some people in the UK. But what I do manage to do is I manage to capture a few different regions. So some of the US guys will get it. Well, depend upon which side of the kind of the country they're on. But they seem to kind of manage to make it around then. Some of the guys, excuse me, some of the guys from Australia and New Zealand seem to manage to get it around breakfast time. So it doesn't work too bad. Furious George has just come in and says, a bit late at the party, we'll have to watch from the start later on. Thanks for coming in, Furious George. Much appreciated. If you do watch from the start, you will see there for the first 45 minutes, we had the guys from Riverhorse in, and we were doing an interview with Alessio Cavatore, the legend that is Alessio Cavatore. And Chris Cæar was also drawing my card that will be in the Krowdfunder game. So this is coming to Kickstarter around April the 1st. Alessio kind of let slip. Yes, my card will be in the game. Antonio says, I'm getting old. I'm married and I'm a father now, so triple knockout. Yes. Well, I'm getting old and I've got 3 children and I've been married twice. So yeah, I must be really, really goosed. Matt says, just be happy to see it. That's fine. Not everything can be a masterpiece. Especially when you're painting kind of big armies. I mean, my problem has always been if I spend too long on like a character model, it doesn't fit with the whole army because it's a completely different standard. So I'm at a point now where I'm trying to get stuff done, be happy with it, and then maybe kind of work on the character models a little, maybe give them a nicer base or something like that. Johnny says, got those same 1.5 reading glasses from Bargain Buys. Won't be long before you hit Specsavers, Andy. I actually went for an eye check a while ago, probably about 18 months ago, because I thought I might need glasses. And he said there was absolutely nothing wrong with my eyesight. I couldn't believe it. Everything was cool. So there you go. Steve says, glasses and a head torch is what I'm using as we speak. I've never used a head torch. I tend to put, I've got these big lights in here for when I'm filming and stuff. And you can get planes landing in my room, but they're so bloody bright. Which is why my head's shining and which is why it gets a bit warm with the lights on. I need to get some LED ones, I think. VJ says it's like 8 AM is good time as I work from home. And he says, no, attending Tabletop Minions live streams at 3 or 4 AM my time. No, that's commitment. That is commitment, mate. I didn't realise that when we were chatting in his live stream. Johnny says, a head torch. Sweet advice, Steve. Thanks. I've tried holding my iPhone torch mode. Stupid me. And maybe I need to get one, actually, thinking about it now. It'd be interesting, actually. What I should get one for is when I'm filming the painting videos, because wherever I'm looking is exactly where the light will be. Peter says, I went to get some reading glasses and the guy said, you need glasses for distance too. I said, how can you tell from behind the counter? He said, this is the dry cleaners. Nice, mate. I like that. I like that one, buddy. Oh, I did hear a joke. Can I tell a joke? Yeah, it's not too smutty. So I did hear a joke the other day. So I need to remember it now before I start. So teacher says to little Johnny at school, she said, if there's 6 crows sitting on the fence and you shoot one with a shotgun, how many are left? And Johnny said, there's none left. He says the noise of the shotgun will make them all fly away. And the teacher says, that's pretty clever, actually, Johnny. It's not what I was looking. It's not the answer I was looking for. But I like the way you think. And he says, well, I've got one for you then, miss. He said, there's 3 women eating an ice cream. One's licking it, one's sucking it, and one's biting it. Which one's married? And the teacher says, well, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say it, but it's probably the one that's sucking it. And he went, no, it's not the answer I was looking for. It's the one with the wedding ring, but I like the way you're thinking as well. Somebody told me the other day, it probably made me chuckle. There you go. So, how are we doing for time? 25 past, so we're going to wrap up for the last 5 minutes. So, we've got, say thanks to all the Patreons, which I've done, but I never too bad to see it again. If anybody wants to go back and see the crowdfunder part of this video as well, if you haven't seen the end of it, you can actually go over to the Riverhorse website and you can print off the cards to do a print and play version so you can have a try of it and see what you think. So it's worth having a look at that. What else is in my notes? Obviously, Tabletop Weekender. If people haven't signed up for that yet, there are still a few tickets left for the Tabletop Weekender, so it would be awesome to see you there. Peter says Trump buying ice cream. I can't remember who told me it now. Steve says his missus bought a good quality one for Christmas. Can't paint without it now. It's funny, isn't it, how you get used to stuff once you start painting with something. Like I've got a couple of lights that I use when I'm kind of like sitting doing any kind of painting for any length of time. And you get used to painting with certain products, certain kind of help. Matt said he's just spat his paintbrush out of his mouth. What can I say? So is that going to be the new thing? Then I've got to have a joke every week now. Got to end on a joke. Only for the hardcore who stay to the end, you get to hear my my terrible sense of humour. Right, folks, I think we're going to wrap it up there because I'm dying for a drink. My mouth is dry as sticks. So, thanks everybody for coming in tonight. Really, really do appreciate it. Nice to see a good turnout for Alessio coming in. Please do check out the River Horse Facebook page. There's a competition I mentioned, so you can name the hippo. It's up here in the corner. You can name the hippo, and no doubt there'll be some kind of prize or something like that. If you also maybe click a like on their Facebook page to see how the Kickstarter will progress for Crowdfunder. Flying Mouth saying, did it knock any paints over, man? So yeah, I need to get a drink. My throat's probably dry now. Russell says, punished for staying to the end. You're never punished, mate. You're blessed for staying to the end. You're blessed. Anyway, I'm going to go and get a drink now before my throat completely dries up. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks again for all of my Patreons. Anybody that was interested in which side are we on? Checking out my Patreon page. There'll be a link in the description of this video and of all of my videos. There's some nice little bonuses to raising pledge levels. So thanks very much for all of those Patreon subs. I'm almost clicked over to 4,000 subscribers on YouTube now. I think I got about 50 subscribers over the weekend. It was a really good weekend for subs. I don't know where it is at the minute. Let's have a quick check before we wrap up for the night. See if we've had any more today. We're at 3,981. So we're 19 subscribers away from 4,000. So thank you for all of your support in helping get that to where it is now. So thanks everyone, and I will see you in the next video.